I'm Daniel from Knockline, Templogue. Well, I'm in recovery. I think from a young age, I had that kind of spiritual malady, kind of what we call it, that hole in the soul or that void, is what I kind of call it. But yeah, I think from a very young age, I lived on my own self-will. I turned away from God probably around the age of 12, I'd say. Blamed him for my traumas, blamed him for my story. So I took it upon myself to believe in my own thinking, to get me through from a young age. I found drugs at 12 or 13, and they connected me to life. They really did. They were my solution for a long time. When you hear the term living for the weekend, it wasn't just a weekend for me. At a very young age, it was nearly every day. What I thought I needed, the attention, the validation, the connection. They gave me everything I thought I wanted at the time. Through that, they came around like a boomerang very quickly in a matter of 10 years and took all of that away from me quite quick. I'd be using my drugs by myself, locked away in my room. I'd be unwashed, wouldn't be fed for days. I'd be living in lust as well as drug addiction. So, yeah, very isolating, very lonely, and I'd use a lot on self-pity and trauma, if I'm honest. Why me, poor me, and eventually the drugs stopped working. They didn't give me the release or the relief anymore. I just couldn't stop using them. I think really deep down, through all the masks and through the addiction and everything, I do feel I had a belief in Jesus. Really deep down in my soul, there was that kind of, I would have believed it as a moral compass, but I knew it was Jesus all along. I was brought into rehab the week before my 25th birthday, but I think knowing that there was a way out of where I was probably the good starting point. So I'd say at this point, I was probably about 9 months clean and sober, and so I was working the 12 steps of recovery, and I was trying to find a higher power in my life and connect to whatever that was for me. But I just couldn't find it. Not for one that I wasn't trying, but something just wasn't connecting. And my sponsor, Carl, would have always been very outspoken about his belief in Jesus and that there is one only true God, that whatever aspects that I want to believe in, all the principles only point to one true God, and that is Jesus. So I found myself searching in many other places in those first 9 months, falling back into lust, relapsing on drugs, and never really knowing why. But again, upon reflection, it's so obvious. You're not going to find results in the wrong places. So Carl was doing a little church hop. He wanted to find a church that he connected to. He just shot me a text one day and he said, "There's a church called Expectation, and it's not what you think church is like." And I said I'd go. I'd have a look, because at this point, I was clean and sober, but I was in so much pain still, so much pain, and I was still stuck there. Really, it just seemed to fit. Like it's inevitable that I'd end up in this church, if I'm honest. I remember my first Sunday in Expectation. At the end, they ask, "Is there anyone who would like to give their life to Jesus?" And my knees were shaking, but I slowly raised my hand. And yeah, everyone in that church prayed for me to find Jesus that day. And very soon after it happened, I got baptized not even 2 weeks after that. It was that breaking of chains. Chains I very much put on myself, but now not having them and having purpose in being able to share my story to help whoever's behind me. Again, it's that purpose. I've never lived life with purpose before coming into this church. A life with purpose is kind of the only meaningful life, I believe now. So, yeah, Jesus is my saviour. That word saviour can be so much, but for me it was breaking of chains, truly breaking of chains. Of lust, of addiction, salvation is what it is. It's what Jesus is to me, because it's not just me who can be saved, really. I would say to anyone who hasn't made that decision yet to generously give your life to Jesus. And if so, why not just watch it get better? You'll see it in other people before you see it in yourself. And I'm a testimony to that. So yeah, I'd say jump right in.